The one sentence pitch for Yesteryear was tradwife influencer transported to the 1800s to live the life she's selling for clicks. And I told myself, this is going to be interesting. Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So today we will be talking about Yesteryear by Caro Burke. So after 2 episodes of talking about negative stuff, I think that it is time that we talk about something good. Something that I really urge you guys to read because it's amazing. And if you're a moviegoers, you might want to lock in because this amazing book was a debut and it made a buzz so big that the rights for the adaptation has been sold before the book even comes out. And the pitch was so good that Anne Hathaway is slated to produce and possibly star in the adaptation.
Can I tell you, so I sold this book 2 years ago, and when I went to auction with it, I spoke with a bunch of editors in New York, and there were a small handful who said, we've got to rush this because it won't be relevant in a few years. And I'm not happy that it's relevant. Like, wouldn't it have been nice? I would happily have taken my book no longer being relevant for a world where this, was solved. But it is funny when I think about it that over the last 2 years, so much has happened that I think makes this book more relevant than ever before.
Because of that, when I'm reading this, I immediately picture Anne Hathaway as the main character. Now I honestly can't wait for the movie to actually come out. So before I go on, let's define what is a tradwife. So a tradwife is a portmanteau for traditional and wife, and it is basically an internet subculture made up of women who promote traditional gender roles, and often these movements are on social media. So you see people like Nara or the recent controversy regarding the Ballerina farm. Yeah, they are tradwives.
This morning, I saw some Mentos and immediately started craving them. When I got home, they were all I thought about, so I started on making myself some.
On the Market Garden team, we always have lunch together, and this is our lunch. We'll grab a few of these.
And one of the reasons I was so excited to talk about this book is about the tradwife thing. But my God, when I read it, it is actually so much more, and I really cannot recommend you this book enough. Now, I would highly recommend you to just stop this video and go read the book completely blind and then come back to my video. But if you want to stay, you can. I will eventually talk about the ending and I will give you spoiler warning when I get there. In Yesteryear, it follows the perspective of Natalie, a tradwife influencer, as she woke up one day in the 1800s. She still lives in the same farm, but the farm is older and with the same husband but older and with a different set of kids. And because of this, it becomes an introspective journey into how she get to that point. It's basically an exploration on who she is and was as a person, the relationship or lack thereof that she has with people around her. The story is told in first-person perspective in non-linear structure, so we go back and forth a lot. And the story starts with her life as a tradwife influencer with her team, her kids, and the author really did an amazing job showing her as a person and how she views herself and how she views others in her life. We also get flashbacks to how she get to that point, what led her there, and finally her life in the 1800s where she woke up one day confused and trying to escape. The writing style is really sharp and really humorous for a debut. I love it. It is amazing. In fact, I actually have a hard time believing this was a debut. Arguably, probably the best reads that I have this year. I love the character work on Natalie. She's such a that it's frustrating, but it is so refreshing to be in her perspective. My only non-complaint on the story is that the 1800s part of the story doesn't take a lot of space. It is only 20 to 30% compared to everything else. This is because the real story actually lies in her past, how she ended up on this quote-unquote Groundhog Day time travel situation. Now, I think I've seen some think pieces and 1-star reviews on criticisms on this book, and some accuse this book of being misrepresentation of Christian women. And I understand completely where these are coming from because of our POV character. Natalie is a Christian woman and her whole character and personality is about being a good Christian woman. And this is something that she repeats throughout the story over and over again, quoting scriptures and stuff. And I remember feeling the same way about Karina Robles Baharin, The Accidental Malay. But this is not the same as The Accidental Malay at all, because this book is not about misrepresenting Christian women. Remember when I said that the whole story written in first-person POV? The thing about first-person POV, and that when your character is supposed to be a representation, a symbol of a group, is that you need to know that they are unreliable narrators, right? Whenever a story is written in first-person POV, you are never meant to take anything from the character at face value. The character you're following can say a million times that they're a good person, that they never hurt anyone, but you are never meant to trust them blindly. The trick with first-person POV is to read between the lines. Also, some complains that Natalie is not a likable or relatable character when that is the whole point of the story. Like, I'm sorry to burst your bubbles, but characters can be good or bad, likable or unlikable, relatable or unrelatable. That's kind of the beauty of it, alright? One example is Ballads of Songbirds and Snake by Suzanne Collins. Ballads was written from the perspective of Benjamin and young President Snow.
I just hit my balls.
Whilst yes, most of the time we are biased towards POV characters because we see or read things from their perspective. So we tend to believe them, we tend to be on their side, but it doesn't always work that way. If you read Ballads, Snow was being blatantly classist and rude towards the people around him, internally of course, but he always maintained this polite facade. Coriolanus Snow was a hypocrite. He's always faking it. His whole life is a performance to gain favor and build reputation that he lose sight of who he was and who he ended up becoming. Coriolanus Snow was never meant to be a good, likable, or relatable. You're meant to hate him. You're exploring the minds of a genocidal fascist villain. And that's the beauty of reading. It broadens your perspective. This is the same towards Natalie. Just because she considers herself a good Christian woman doesn't make it true. Because the point the author is trying to make is not to villainize Christian or Christian women or Christianity. It is simply to expose the extremes. That's it. And just like Coriolanus Snow, Natalie is not meant to be good. She's not meant to be likable or even relatable to us readers. It is an exploration into the mind of a selfish, privileged white woman. This is a story that is not about Christian women. It is a story about a woman who claims to be Christian. Understand the difference. Also, I'm questioning, like, why does anyone expect a triad wife, anti-feminist, right-wing, Trump-Burke, racist, homophobic mommy to be likable? Why? Did anyone see the things triad wives post on social media?
I'm not a feminist. I can see men and I don't immediately feel threatened. I'm not a feminist. And then people ask me if I'm actually a woman.
Yes, I got engaged at 18, married at 19.
For 24 years, I lived in million-dollar homes. I vacationed all over the world. I spent my summers in Hawaii. I could buy myself $500 jeans, diamond tennis bracelets. We had boats and RVs and whatever I wanted.
I didn't go to college. I don't plan to.
2 weeks ago, he told me that he wants to move forward with divorce.
I am still a good 10, 15 years behind everyone else my age in terms of setting up my finances, in terms of building a career for myself.
I don't have a degree, I don't have a job, and I'm not getting one.
Now I'm 49 years old and I'm struggling financially because I don't have 20 years of work experience on top of the most recent 10 years.
So yes, me and my husband do have an age gap. He is 10 years older than me.
Expectation was, from the time I was, again, 17 years old, was that I made everything from scratch.
The girls are aged between 17 and 19, and they already have a clear idea of the life they want to lead.
Natalie is not a good Christian woman or even a good woman. What she is an influencer with a capital I. If you read the story deeply and understand it, you'll see that Natalie is someone who used religion as a shell of her personality. Her actual true religion is actually external validation, and her God is social media. Now, as someone who is part of a religion, you can't really escape being in a community. It is all about community. When it comes to religion, the only difference would have been probably the location or what kind of demographic it is. And in rural areas, it might be more conservative, and the opposite when it comes to the city. But Natalie rejects being in any community whatsoever. We didn't really see her go to church every Sunday or be part of a community of Christian people that she genuinely liked. The closest we get to see her being in a community was attending an online social media course that she endlessly complains and that she finds everyone else participating in it as insufferable. Because Natalie doesn't like anyone but herself. She doesn't even like her own children. And another debunk of the book misrepresenting Christian people is that there are also other Christian characters in this book that are decent people who still goes to church. For instance, there's Natalie's mother and sister, still goes to church, keeps their faith to the end, but they definitely do not have the same outlook of life just like Natalie. See, that's how Yesteryear really talks about the toxic people in the Christian community without demonizing the religion or the whole Christian population. But the Accidental Malay does not do that. That's the difference. Natalie's mother and sister, they are the two people who tried to slap some perspective into Natalie, but Natalie being Natalie doesn't give a because Natalie doesn't care about other people's opinion but herself. Now, I mentioned previously that this is not actually about Christian women. It is about a woman who claims to be Christian, because her actual religion is external validation and social media is her god. So the criticism by some people of her never going to church or even knowing which church she goes to in her childhood is irrelevant, because this is not about a religious woman. It is about an influencer using religion as a costume, delivering performance to her audience or flock on Instagram. I didn't say anything. I suddenly feel nauseous. So that was the secret. All those years I'd spent watching my mother and the other women in our community marveling at how effortlessly they performed their roles as mother, homemaker, wife. All the moments I thought of them at college, summoning their easy joy and holding it in my hand like a lucky rabbit's foot, while the girls in the dorm complained about everything. It was a lie, wasn't it? If not an outright lie, then certainly not the truth either. They weren't actually happy. They were just pretending that they were. And the Lord is fine with it? With you needing to pretend? My mother didn't skip a beat. She locked into her argument and was on a roll now. Oh, I wouldn't call it pretending. It's more like a form of remembering, don't you think? After all, who do you think encouraged me to come up with that little idea to begin with? Who is our Lord and Savior if not the original audience member of our lives? So she internalized this throughout her life, constantly performing as this righteous religious woman, upholding the traditional values, play acting. She's managing the household by herself, constantly pretending in front of imaginary audience when even the cameras are off, as a way to force herself to do better. She knows she wants the best of both worlds. She wants the picture-perfect trad wife image as a you against the liberal world, full of leftists, but at the same time, she's not really a trad wife that she led people to believe. That's it, Robin exclaimed. It's the smile. You don't actually look happy. You look like you're grimacing. 15 heads nodded in unison. That's just my smile though. That's just how I smile. Here's the thing, Natalie. Cassidy gave me a cloying wince. I think what Ashley Ann is saying here is that it looks like you're pretending. So she and her husband, Caleb, sucks at managing the farm. She meticulously hides a lot of things for the audience to maintain this trad wife persona, like designing her whole kitchen to hide all the modern day utensils like a microwave, because trad wives don't use microwaves. She never allows nannies to appear on camera to maintain the illusion that she herself homeschooled her kids and take care of them all. She also scams people saying the vegetables she sold are organic when they're not. She doesn't give her kids phones, but she's addicted to her own phone.
A large percentage of it at the moment is fake. It's really fake. And it's monetized. It's been co-opted, I think. People just started jumping on the bandwagon. People pivoted from less wholesome areas of the internet, shall we say, because it was the buzzword.
She convinced herself over and over again that this is the righteous way, the godly way. Because to her, it was never about to actually be a good Christian. She's using religion as an excuse to feel superior onto others. She even conveniently splits herself into online Natalie and offline Natalie. And she absolutely hates her offline self. You know how sometimes when we look at influencers with their perfect body, with their perfect skin, perfect life, and you look in the mirror, you realize, oh no, you're not skinny. You have terrible skin and you're not rich. So it contributes to your lack of self-esteem. It's the same with Natalie, except that she literally did this to herself. How she dissociates online persona with herself, it creates a sense of voyeurism where, aside from embodying and internalizing her mother's advice, which at first felt like a blessing because it comes a coping mechanism to her, it ended up becoming a curse, quote unquote. Because once she wakes up in the 1800s, she theorized the many possibilities. Is it time travel, or is she becomes part of a very sick and twisted reality show? She's leaning towards the reality show theory, and she's constantly feeling like she's being watched, which is a curse because remember her mom told her that her whole life is a performance. You have to pretend that you're being watched, and now you're actually being watched and you have no idea. If before she used this delusion of grandeur as a mechanism to cope, now it feels like intrusion.
Pooja, what is this behavior?
If before she basically welcomes people into her life, only parts that she wants people to see, and now she literally wishes to remain hidden, but she has zero choice, zero say in what she can and cannot show. It's basically the story way of saying, be careful what you wish for. Now that I'm alone, I'm buffeted by a strange, chilling calm. I've had a revelation. No, not a revelation. That would imply the realization is new, and it doesn't feel new. It feels like a truth I've known all my life, like a childhood memory resurfacing after so many years of being lost to the annals of my mind. I'm under surveillance in this house, yes, but only by him. All of this is a test. My maker wants to see what I'm capable of. Natalie's whole personality is being a tradwife influencer, and its very existence is ironic and paradoxical. Now, tradwife means like you have a domestic focus. Your primary caregiving is a single income household and the utmost marital submission.
I am at a restaurant with my husband. I do not talk to the hostess. I do not open any doors, and I do not order my own food.
Oh, really? That sucks.
But when you become a tradwife plus influencer, you're already breaking at least one focus of being a tradwife, which is you're a single income household, because normally in these households the husband would be the sole breadwinner, but being an influencer is a real job these days, which means they are either dual income household or the tradwife becomes the breadwinner, because you know, like if you're an influencer with millions and millions of followers, you kind of earn a lot.
Through these princess videos filmed behind the stove, she's gained over 500,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok. These videos earn her almost €20,000 a month.
When it did and I got like my first brand deal, I was like, whoa, this is cool. You can actually make money doing this.
But she's not at home. She's on stage telling all these women what to do. She's a fucking hypocrite in her own right. She's not a traditional wife. She's not. And if she is, she's the worst kind.
Natalie, in a way, becomes the breadwinner of the house. The reason how she ended up becoming an influencer, she finally realized that her husband Caleb is an idiot nepo baby, and that her father-in-law has been financially supporting all this while, and that eventually the allowance will reduce over time. So she has to come up with a plan to keep the family financially afloat. He'd already gotten what he wanted, a corner of the world to sweep his son into, a little padded jail cell. It was merely a bonus that the jail cell in question sounded quite nice in a speech. No, Doug would never stop giving us money. He would simply give us less and less and less, which meant I was stuck here, trapped, alone in the middle of nowhere with, God help me, my husband and children in perpetuity, slowly creeping towards poverty. Also, another part of it is that she actually craves external validation. That's the thing about being a mother and a wife and an influencer all at the same time. It's basically like breastfeeding 3 babies simultaneously, like seducing 3 lovers at once. Natalie sees gender roles as a chore, and while she tries to convince herself it is some higher calling, because she said here, when she had talked about my future, it had always been Natalie the professor, Natalie the academic. Of course, the assumption of children and homemaking was always there too, hovering in the white space between all those hypothetical careers. My mother, a breadwinner herself, was lopsidedly progressive in that way. She didn't believe in divorce, but she did genuinely believe her smartest daughter would have it all, a good job and a good family, in Jesus' name, amen. If you marry this man, she said to me now with her blinking eyes, you will become his smiling shadow. A year ago, I wouldn't have wanted that, but the last 6 months had changed me. I blinked back and answered, I thought I wanted the world, mama, but I've seen the world now, and I want no part of it. Whilst initially she did felt it, but based on her feelings throughout, it doesn't. Her first realization over how disillusioned she was after she gave birth to her firstborn, Clementine, where she realized how awful it was. She's also experiencing postpartum depression and just doesn't seem to be able to connect to her role as a mother that much.
Natalie, the protagonist, as you say, is obsessed with motherhood. But she's obsessed with like the idea of it rather than doing it. She actually, to me, seems to hate every part of it. Was that quite complicated to write?
It was complicated because she also wants so badly for it to work. Like Natalie is someone who has been told her whole life that motherhood would come naturally to her. So I think she almost feels an entitlement to it in a way, which is interesting. And yeah, she's very cold. Like she has a very transactional relationship to it. And I think, you know, so many books about motherhood are very sensual or like about the body and talk a lot very fairly about how motherhood changes the body. And Natalie never thinks about that at all. Like she doesn't think about how breastfeeding changes, you know, her nipples or how it really feels. And I think that part of it is because she's kind of dissociating.
And it was even more frustrating to her because this was the moment the wool was removed from her eyes and she realized that she married an idiot and that her fantasy of having this traditional family dynamic will never be fulfilled. Because in order to have that dynamic, your husband has to be responsible, resourceful, you know, actually smart. But how can you do that when your husband is Caleb? Not to mention that now she realized it is not only up to her to raise the kids, but she's also expected to raise her man-child of a husband to be a man. But even her idea of a man is limited. Like, unlike her, Caleb was natural in playing with kids and once expressed the desire to be a kindergarten teacher. But because she thinks that teaching kids is not a manly enough job for the family she's molding from scratch, so she got the wrench. He had no desire to do anything else. My husband wanted too little from his life, and me, I wanted too much. Suddenly, it was so obvious. Caleb should have been born a woman, and I should have been born a man. A sad sickness turned my stomach, and we were equally broken that way. This whole thing is ironic because people like Natalie, despite being encountered face first with situations like this, will still miss the point that gender role is a social construct, that being a man doesn't always mean trucks, footballs, or whatever men does, you know? Like, everyone has a role on this farm. Old Caleb tends to the fields, and Noah tends to the horse, and Abel tends to his father, and Mary tends to the kitchen, and to Maeve tends to the chicken, and me? A few days ago, I might have said my role is to take care of the laundry. That is, of course, not correct. The laundry is an addendum, a footnote, a mid-afternoon side quest for a woman with too much time on her hands. This right here is my true role: to spread my legs when my husband demands, to have as many children as I can until my legs give out beneath me, and to feel nothing but gratitude on the hour of my death, to smile while the spirit hemorrhages out of me. It's really funny to think how I all but begged Caleb in our early years of marriage to become the kind of man who is standing before me now. The opposite of a kindergarten teacher, a farmer, a cowboy, a patriarch, a man without a single soft edge. I craved it, I prayed for it, and what did the Lord do? He listened. He gave me what I wanted. He gave me a man. For the husband is the head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its savior. I personally think that stopping Caleb from being a kindergarten teacher was Natalie's first mistake, because he ended up becoming much worse than her. Am I erasing the accountability from Caleb? No. But Caleb at that point was an idiot, a tabula rasa, you may call it, and it would have been better if he actually becomes a teacher. But of course, then we wouldn't get the story. But the purgatorial nature of gender roles was most obvious during her time in the 1800s, because women back then are either raising women like them, simply being a homemaker, or raising men who ended up subjugating them. Because Natalie was so clueless, the eldest daughter, Mary, ended up being in charge of the household instead of her. Mary was the one that was assigning chores to others and helping Natalie manage herself. She looks like she's deciding whether to push me to ask me again. Instead, she shivers and stands up, staring out into the black of the woods for a long moment. Then she walks back inside without another word. I stand up too and follow this daughter, who is not my daughter, this teenager who is also my mother, my captor, my savior in this cold, unforgiving world. And it was especially bleak when we saw how the boys were raised, and they see women as inferior, and they see themselves as above, helping women in their womanly task.
Even though he works from home most of the time, he never helps with the household chores.
Oh, this is crazy. Look, after Valentine's Day, look.
Leave your husband. Leave your husband.
Which is something that, well, technically what Natalie wanted. One of the cover writings in the story is used with the comparisons of Natalie and her college roommate Rena, as a way to show us that Natalie is still a victim of patriarchy. How she recognizes the patriarchy's impact on her college roommate's life and use that to justify how she lives when she herself is the victim of patriarchs in her life. So Rena was Natalie's college roommate before she chose to drop out after marrying Caleb. But here's the thing about Natalie's observation of the so-called capitalist lifestyle of the modern women.
A lot of these women will be married to affluent men, but they are controlling all of the finances. So there's money there, they just don't have access to it.
Working 9 to 5 is so draining and exhausting, and I really do want to have a family. Like at least 4.
For 30 minutes, Charlie Kirk urges the girls to take care of their homes, even telling them how many children to have.
And also trying to embrace my role as a woman, because especially, so I'm submissive by nature.
I was incredibly submissive, and I loved him absolutely unconditionally, regardless of what he did to me. And yes, this was also a very abusive relationship.
She finds them disdainful, and that because of that, she becomes this extreme hater and doesn't want anything to do with modern women after she was being poorly treated by Rina. Rina is Natalie's polar opposite. She's her foil, basically the left-wing women from her perspective. Throughout the story, she called left-wing women as the angry women as a way to reaffirm herself that the angry woman and Rina by proxy are living a life so miserable that they feel the necessity to follow her on social media just to write mean comment.
Do you consider yourself a feminist?
That's a very hard label because that's the type of person that I'm receiving the most hate online from.
From feminists?
Yeah, pretty mind-blowing because isn't a feminist supposed to be a person that is fighting for women to be able to do what they want to do?
And the thing is, Rina was also being isolated towards her. So, but Natalie is also not interested in Rina as a person, and that they both sort of orbits each other warily without trying to get to know each other's values. Like, they're both disdainful and presumptuous towards each other, and they also think the other person is beyond saving. Because Natalie is more sheltered, so she doesn't have friends. Thus, she feel like when she sees Rina and her friends, she felt like, oh, it is her versus the ugly liberal world, since she always see Rina surrounded by friends and boys. And after their fight, and Rina assaulted her, she just radicalized into her extreme beliefs. So yes, because of the one bad experience, because of one left-wing woman, she immediately assumes that the rest of the world is like that and she wants no part of it. And ironically, after her radicalization, she just becomes obsessed with Rina. Like, throughout the story, you'll see her think, what would Rina do? Or whenever she's feeling bad about herself, she just pictures Rina having a hard time at work and navigating the late-stage capitalism that is today, or having pointless relationship, etc., etc. She relishes in this Schadenfreude, especially in one part when she discovers that Rina has been fired from her work and to have to start over as an intern at 27. Seriously, holy shit, she just wouldn't shut up about how she's so much better than everyone else. It was June, our second summer on the farm. On the other side of the great nation, Rina was living in New York City. As a recent graduate, I knew this because I checked on her Instagram account daily. I saw every highly unattractive selfie she shared of herself, raccoon-eyed on the subway at 3 in the morning, surrounded by young men and women who always looked like they were mid-conversation and trying to ignore her. I knew she hadn't gotten a gig at McKinsey when she announced that she was working at some no-name mid-tier consulting firm that would require her to travel every other weekend. She was flailing, obviously, and I, on the other hand, was starving. It is to a point that in order for her to do well in her life, she has to picture Rina watching and judging her move, that she doesn't want to appear like a failure in front of her so-called nemesis.
And not just the care of your child, of keeping them alive and keeping them loved, but the performance of care and the idea of other people seeing you as the right type of parent. I mean, I am like amazed at how intense and frankly judgmental conversations are, even just between women, about, are you breastfeeding or giving your kid formula? You know, what school, what type of childcare? Do you have a nanny? Do you do daycare? And the irony is that most people just make these decisions based off of what they can do.
Exactly.
It's just about survival most of the time.
In almost every step in her life, Natalie is powered by the Schadenfreude. She feels angry towards the angry woman and Rina by proxy. Swallow the rising misery in my throat. Swallow the fury. Swallow the anxiety. Swallow the desire to light the house on fire and walk out the front door while husband, baby, and in-laws burn to death. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Kill yourself. No. Conjure the audience. Conjure Jesus. Conjure mother. Conjure Rina. Yes, that's the ticket. Rina back east, pulling an all-nighter in a corner cubicle in the basement of library of school, slouched before a beam of artificial light, eating some tasteless protein bars so filled with chemicals it could survive a nuclear holocaust. Watch her as she pauses, gets the sense prickling on the back of her neck that she's being watched. She looks up, scans the room. Her gaze lands on you. Oh, the baby's crying. Go get your baby. It's honestly kind of bad because Rina probably do not even think about her most of the time because she was too busy navigating life. But because, well, Natalie has so much free time in her hand, she can think that. But when you look at it, even when they're both roommate, despite not getting along with each other, they have this weird binary pity from both sides of womanhood. And they oscillate that feeling with hate, envy, and maybe frustration. As a hijabi Muslim woman, I see where she's coming from because some women from left-wing and conservative pressure women really do out to liberate women like me from the hijab because they feel like a white woman savior complex when they heard stories about women in Afghanistan without even considering the differing socio-political context of different countries, because some women really love to view hijabi women with a mix of pity and disdain. Like, you're so close. Jesus love you. Like, okay, we love Jesus too. Like, I'm so close to what? Losing my patience?
These comments are so backhanded. Like, do you genuinely think I'm stupid?
They love to go to the extremes and try to make us feel like we hate our religion. That itself is a form of oppression that they do that maybe they're ignoring or they're unaware of. Because you're trying to free us, but you're also trying to shackle us with your own mindset on what Islam is.
Because when they chose to view that I will have a better time leaving who I am to be part of them, they made zero effort to understand why I stayed in the first place. And yes, both Rina and Natalie felt this way towards one another. She low-key pitied the liberal left-wing women who doesn't understand the beauty of the life she chose, and the liberal left-wing women pity her for being so close-minded. So when the ending comes, because Natalie has been so consistently terrible, the author is playing with this idea of like a bloodlust and positioning the reader as one of the angry women. And there's also this feeling of Schadenfreude for me as a reader when Natalie gets her comeuppance. So now it is time for us to talk about the ending. So from this point, spoilers ahead. The ending is actually quite controversial because some people love it, some people hate it, some people actually find it anti-feminist for the literal racist, anti-feminist, trad wife mommy blogger to experience the consequences of the actions of child neglect and abuse. So yeah, I don't know.
True. What do you think is the biggest issue facing our country right now?
Oh, I would say it's toxic femininity, not toxic masculinity. Toxic femininity, not toxic masculinity.
I agree. It's like feminism is the problem.
Yeah,
feminism is the problem.
Yeah.
The ending was always hinted from the beginning because there's just little snippets of interviews that we have no idea when and with whom, but it turns out to be foreshadowing. So basically her time in the 1800s is neither time travel nor she's experiencing her version of the Truman Show.
What a twist!
She is still in modern day, but she went through decades-long psychosis after being colossally cancelled online after her producer, whom she assaulted for sleeping with Caleb, ended up whistleblowing on her whole operation. This led to her mental breakdown, and she by hand removed every sense of modernity in her home and chose to truly living like it's the 1800s. I have become, hear me when I say this, a good motherfucking Christian woman. I do not anymore ask questions of my husband that he does not want to hear, and my husband, oh yes, a very good Christian man, does not tell me things I do not need to know. Her first batch of kids escaped her and went to live with their grandmother, Natalie's mother, but some remained to live near her, pretending to play along in these delusions of her. Caleb has turned to the manosphere, hence she displayed abusive behavior towards her. One of the things about Caleb was that he was unable to get it up. Previously, whenever they're about to make babies, but during the 1800s time, oddly he can, because he's quote-unquote becoming the man of the house. Is it saying that Natalie taking charge of the house in the beginning is why he feels emasculated, hence the lack of sexual performance? Maybe. But Caleb is an idiot, so yeah. And thus, she's faced with grown-up Clementine, finally gotten the means of custody towards her siblings. When I tell you I cried, I feel genuinely sorry for her children. For all intents and purposes, what she and Caleb did, regardless of mental illness or not, it is still abuse towards the children because they deprive their kids of education, basically living a full life. And despite all of that, despite how much I don't like Natalie, it is heartbreaking to see her kids being separated from her like that. And I legit cried when her youngest daughter, May, who has a learning deficiency, was so confused when she has to leave her. She called her mama. I cried. I do feel sorry for Natalie a bit. I can feel her regret. I can feel the pain that she has in being separated from her kids, but I ended up feeling sorry for the kids. Then we fast forward 5 years later, and Natalie is obviously incarcerated because of child exploitation, but it is the day that she's going to do an exclusive interview with none other than Rina, her foil and nemesis. At this point, Natalie's mental state has definitely deteriorated. She still deluded herself to be above Rena. The story really ends with Natalie and us reading the excerpts of Mary's book. It breaks my heart even more. I am actually satisfied with the ending because everyone gets what they deserve. Natalie, who exploited her children, get the deserved comeuppance. She scammed the people, she gets the comeuppance. And no, I won't apologize for feeling the satisfaction over a woman who abused her children got arrested. Whilst we don't get anything really from Caleb, but I assume he's also arrested. Yes, his father was a politician and a lot of people assume that he got away with it because he's a Nepo baby. But her father-in-law's reputation has been destroyed at that point. So much that I don't think there's any power left. So I like to think that sure, Caleb's also arrested. Also, towards the end of the book, because we don't get anything from Caleb from Natalie's perspective, that's because Natalie is too mentally gone to care about Caleb anyway. So it's not because Caleb got away with it, it's just because she doesn't care about anyone but herself. And honestly, I tell you, it was a beautiful choice to end this book that way, because it is truly heartbreaking to see her perspective, Mary's perspective, how much she was deprived, but there's still so much love she has for her mother. Yesteryear is an amazing read. It is brilliant. It has a lot of things to say about womanhood, gender roles, feminism, social media, etc. The author somewhat incorporates us, the audience, in this voyeuristic look into life of a trad wife. Sure, we have looked at trad wife influencers like Ballerina and Nara Smith, and especially some of them having anti-feminist view. The book is a raw exploration of our dark desire to see anti-feminists getting what they deserve. It felt like a mirror to us, like this book is asking what is my intention when I pick this up, and it made me reflect on the way I see these women. Because as much as I identify more as Rena, I don't want to be Rena either, because she's probably the version of what conservative women have encountered, and I don't think that benefits anyone, let alone the left wing. As sad as it is a fitting fate for her character at the end. She might have not hit her kids, but what she did was neglect and abuse, all for the sake of creating the perfect social media presence. She deprived them of the life that they deserve for her own personal gain. But instead of feeling happy, the author actually made a point that it is still very painful to the innocent parties involved. Yes, Natalie is paying for her crimes, but her children's lives are falling apart. Well, yes, after being separated from her, the children get to live their full lives, but my goodness, reading Maeve being ripped apart from her mother like that, it is heartbreaking regardless. Ultimately, for us in real life, there are women out there who doesn't think the same way and I do, and vice versa, but as long as they're not doing any legit crimes and abuse, ultimately I hope we can find some form of middle ground, and I still wanna best for them. And I know some people think that Natalie should experience some character growth where she realized she's wrong, but if you think about it in real life, most people like Natalie, they're not like this due to lack of knowledge. It's because they're so set in their ways that there is nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. Look at racists, look at Zionists. They do not want to believe that they're in the wrong, so their minds will make up any form of excuse to justify their actions as long as they feel like the good guys. Everything goes. Natalie is the same. To her, the world is the enemy and sustenance. She thrives with attention, but she thinks she's above reproach, and she makes up excuses along the way just to go on with her life. She thinks everyone who disagrees with her is wrong. However, despite our difference, I do not wish anyone partaking in the trad wife lifestyle to be subjugated and have their agency and freedom taken away, because ultimately, feminism is about respecting women and their choices. If they chose to be a trad wife, so be it. But if you're exploiting children in the process, I have no sympathy.
For so long, women have been told we can have it all and do it all. But maybe, just maybe, not everyone wants to anymore.
Just like they have the right to choose, as do I, and I choose this lifestyle instead.
Obviously, there are a lot of different political themes in this book, but I think my experience of writing it was realizing how universal these struggles are, regardless of what your politics are. Like the pressure of being the right type of mother, the right type of wife, I don't think it ever goes away. And I think that that's something that we could find more common ground on.
I cannot for the life of me be a trad wife because I am so distrusting of men. No matter what, I want to have my own financial means, whether it is by 9 to 5 or not. Either way, I'll be financially independent.
If you're going to be a trad wife, prepare yourself. I wish I had known then what I know now. I wish I had had people like me telling me what I'm telling you now.
So yeah, Yesteryear. Go give it a read and tell me what you think. Also, I really can't wait for the movie. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.